In this lesson, we're going to discuss the drawing tools. Drawing? I thought Indesign is a layout program. Well, it is. But creating objects is drawing. If you'd like to follow along, go under the File menu to New, Document, and just use the defaults and click OK. There are three different kinds of frames in Indesign. There's the type frame, graphic frames, which are meant for placing graphics, and unassigned frames, which don't contain anything. They are just decorative elements or graphic elements in your layout that are colored in the swatches panel. Why don't we go to our type tool? You can hit your T key to go there very quickly. And we're going to go to the upper left-hand corner of our margins and just click and drag. I can tell right away that it's a text frame because of the blinking cursor. But even if I were to switch to my selection tool, I can still tell that it's a text frame because in the upper left-hand corner, there's something called an import, and in the lower right corner, there's something called an outport. These are for linking frames together, so text can flow from one text frame to the next. We'll talk more about this in the section about long documents. The next kind of a frame is the graphic frame. I'm choosing the rectangle frame tool, which is meant to contain a graphic, such as a photograph or a logo. I'm going to click and drag with the frame tool, the rectangle frame tool, and I'm going to use Smart Guides to make it the same width and height as the text frame. You can see the vertical arrows and the horizontal arrows next to each object. If they both have those arrows, they're the same width and height. The next kind of a frame, the unassigned frame, doesn't have an X in it, and it doesn't contain anything. It's to be used as an object in your layout that is a graphic element that is colored in by a color in the swatches panel. So if I go to that tool and click and drag, I'm getting an unassigned frame. And I can use, once again, Smart Guides to make it the same width and height. You can choose either the rectangle tool by hitting your M key or the rectangle frame tool by hitting your F key. I'm going to stay with the unassigned rectangle tool. And the reason why you can choose either is because the unassigned frames and the graphic frames all work the same way. There are two ways to use either of these types of tools. The first is to just click, and you're going to get a dialog box, and you can set up your own width and height. I'm just going to click OK. If you've made a rectangle in this case that is a certain size by clicking and dragging, when you go to the dialog window, it's going to hold on to those same numbers. So these two objects are exactly the same size. I could also click and drag. Let me make something that's a totally different shape. Now, when I just click, it's going to have those dimensions saved from the last object that I drew. And if I click OK, you're going to see I get the same size object. Let me select everything by hitting Command or Control A and just delete, so I have space to work. The next tools are actually hidden underneath the rectangle tools. Underneath the rectangle frame tool, you'll see that there's an ellipse frame tool. If I click and hold on the rectangle tool, you'll see there's an unassigned ellipse tool. I can hit my L key to get to that tool very quickly. And like the other tools, I have a choice of either just clicking and then clicking OK after I specify a size, or clicking and dragging. And like the rectangle tool, if I click again, it's going to hold on to these last dimensions. When I click OK, I'm going to get an object that's exactly the same size. Let me once again go to my selection tool and just click and drag across these three ellipses and delete them. Hidden underneath the ellipse tools, if I click and hold, you'll see that there's a polygon tool. If I click with my polygon tool, by default, I'm going to get a polygon with 6 sides. And if I click OK, in this case, I'm getting a 2 by 2 inch polygon with 6 sides. What if I wanted more sides? Let me just click again and change the number of sides to a higher number. How about 10? And I'll click OK. There is no star tool in InDesign. You actually use the polygon tool and make the polygon into a star by changing the settings. Let me show you. I'm just going to click with my polygon tool and I'll make a 2 by 2 polygon, but how about with 5 sides? And I'm going to do something called a star inset. If I set up the polygon with 5 sides, doing an inset of, let's say, 50% is going to double the number of points. Half of those points are going to be inset so that their radius from the center of the polygon is half as much. And if I click OK, I'm going to get the classic American flag star. And you can see there are actually 10 points, 5 of which are inset 50%. So that's how you create a star in InDesign. Let me go back into my polygon tool and just click again. And I'm going to get rid of the star inset, so the inset is going to be 0. So if I click OK, I'm going to be back to just a 5-sided polygon. There are a couple of other commands that work with all of these drawing tools. Let me show you. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag while holding down my Shift key. The Shift key is used to constrain the width and the height to make them equal. So it has the same exact width as height, which of course is a square. The same thing works with any of the other tools. So if I were to go to my ellipse tool and hold down my Shift key, I'm going to get a circle. It's going to make the width and the height the same. So it is a circle. But what if I wanted to draw an object from the inside out? If I hold down Option or Alt on a PC, it's going to draw my object from the inside out. Now, if I added a Shift key to that command, I'm drawing a circle from the inside out, or with the rectangle tool, I'm drawing a square from the inside out. And these commands work with all of the drawing tools. In the next lesson, we will continue working with objects.